Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world.
Time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayla's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh, now, here's Jim Coyle.
Good morning and welcome to the Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle. I'm the coach Shannon Griffith, stepping in here quite early this morning for Jim out on the West Coast, getting in there yesterday on a heavy travel day for him, where he'll be joining us here shortly, I hope. But today we got another jam-packed show following up on yesterday. Going to have Todd Leary, as always, talk a little bit about IU basketball, as they are getting ready to roll when the Big Ten Media Days are here officially. You know, basketball is right around the corner. Zach Osterman, we'll get his take a little bit from not only that, but also the Hoosiers and the Oregon Ducks as we close in on a top 10 matchup on Saturday out in Eugene, Oregon. And then, of course, we'll have Kevin Brockway on, and Jeffery The Greek will be joining us as well. Good morning, good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you may be. Appreciate you stopping in and joining us here today. And we're going to have a good day, as always, here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Man, there are some great matchups this weekend in college football. Not only do we have the one in Eugene, with the Hoosiers and the Ducks, but also within the Big Ten, we're going to have Illinois versus Ohio State in another big matchup there in Champaign-Urbana. The Buckeyes are a 14.5-point favorite as of now, but that one is going to be a great matchup to see where Illinois is at respectively to they're rebounding the last couple of weeks after Indiana took them down when they were, at that point, the 9th-ranked team in the country, Ohio State being the top-ranked team. And but that's always a tough place to go in and play. It's going to be a sellout there at Illinois, so that one will be an interesting game to keep an eye on as well. And the other one that has some interesting vibes to it as well is the Red River rivalry, one of the neat college football experiences there while the Texas Fair is happening. And you've got Oklahoma and Texas at the Cotton Bowl playing in their rivalry game. And that one will be a big one. And that's a big one for Oklahoma, as they've been off to a hot start right now. Of course, Texas, things are not going quite as well for Coach Sark there in Austin, as they've struggled of late. Arch Manning has not played to, I guess you call it, to the expectation of what those in the program or around the program would have thought. He's getting his first year starting as a quarterback at a big time program. And, it's not been a rosy start as they had hoped, but they're kind of like Penn State, where they've taken some tough losses and now they're pretty much on the outside looking in when it comes to the college football race. In that regard, Georgia at Auburn, that one as well. So there's a ton of big time games heading out this Saturday for college football as well. And we appreciate you being here, and those that are joining us on the airways, such as 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM up here in Fort Wayne, as well as in Evansville. Joining us there on ESPN Radio. And then, of course, those that are up in the region WJOB. We appreciate you joining us here today, as well as those that are joining us via our stream. And appreciate you coming along and being with us here this beautiful Friday as we head into the weekend. It's a pretty big time atmosphere that these Hoosiers are going to walk into out in Eugene. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that one and get everyone's opinion of what they think this contest will be like for the Hoosiers. The national spotlight, quite a few do not give Indiana too much of a chance in Eugene. I am on the other side of the coin with that, and we talked about that last night on the Hoosier Tailgate and what Indiana will have to do to try to come out of Eugene with a W. No question, this Oregon team is a top team, and I think they're the best in the country, quite honestly, let alone the Big Ten. But like every team, there are vulnerabilities, although few and far between for these Ducks. But at the same time, if Indiana can play at the level they've played at and make the running game go, I do think they get a chance to have a big statement win out in Eugene. But it's going to require a lot of things to go their way. Of course, the weather, 59 and overcast with a 70% chance of rain. So interesting in terms of the true Pacific Northwest weather setup there in Eugene for Saturday's big contest. Major League Baseball yesterday, the Cubbies extend their game to a deciding Game 5 with a huge win over the Brewers, exploding for a ton of runs in that ball game. Some bombs as well there in Wrigley, which is probably one of my favorite places to go watch a game or watch on TV because the historic value of that ball, that stadium. It's amazing that the number of years where they only had afternoon games and then finally adding the lights so they could play the night games, and seeing a divisional series being played in October, and the Cubs getting a W to get it to a Game 5. So that one's going to be an interesting one. Of course, unfortunately for the Phillies, they lost in a most unique fashion. If anyone saw that game between the Dodgers and Phillies yesterday, it was a 2-1 game. And the play that ultimately decided it was an error by the pitcher on a play that he went to home to try to get the runner out at home and threw wildly. And it ultimately led to the final run coming across and providing the quote unquote walk-off error, if you want to call it that, for the Dodgers. Kind of a heartbreak to see that type of play decide a ball game, but it always does, as we know. That you get to those type of games and it has a tendency to decide that. So in that, and then of course, NFL weekend upon us as well, the Colts and Cardinals. And we had Matt Taylor on yesterday talking about the Indianapolis Colts and how well Daniel Jones has played to date. And he's going to have to play a really good game tomorrow as well, or Sunday, with these Cardinals coming in. But that in itself is going to be a dandy of a ball game when it comes to the NFL and the Colts. Can they keep it rolling? They've had some great wins coming off that beat down, excuse me, of the Las Vegas Raiders and Pete Carroll last Sunday. So Colts in a big matchup on Sunday. We got the Hoosiers getting ready to tee it off against the Ducks on Saturday. So a lot going on this weekend. And we are going to try to ultimately get you all covered and ready to go. But we're going to step aside here for our first break this morning. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more of this weekend and the Hoosiers. We're going to do all that right after this here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on a Friday. Big weekend in college sports, pro sports, as well as high school football here in the state of Indiana, up here in the Fort Wayne area. Big contest of the Northrop Bruins taking on the Carroll Chargers, my alma mater, the Bruins. Great year for them going into this ball game, which will be an elimination type of game for the conference championship. As we wrap up high school football here, heading into, I believe, the sectional drawing coming Saturday. Hard to believe that we're at that point, but it goes fast, and that's where we're at here in the month of October. And I'll be covering that game tonight, doing my weekly color commentary on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. So a lot of big games in and around the state of Indiana this week in high school football. So we appreciate you joining us here today and been in contact with the one and only Jim Coyle. He is trying to get things established and set up out there in Eugene. So I can just imagine that difficulty that may present being that many miles away from home base. So he'll be joining us here shortly. And like I said, we are scheduled to have today Todd Leary on, as well as Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, Jeffery the Greek, get his opinion and breakdown of this big game this Saturday, where the Hoosiers are a 7.5-point underdog. Hopefully we'll get all of them on there, as well as Kevin Brockway, who gives us some insight of the SEC in his coverage there of the Florida Gators. But there's a lot of big things happening this weekend. Again, we appreciate you joining us no matter where you are at. This game Saturday for the Hoosiers, Dan Lanning, very complimentary, I guess you could say, in some respects. And, he's a pretty straight shooter. I think he's one of those coaches that really doesn't BS you too much about this Hoosier ball club. He kept using the word identity in his description of Indiana's offense and defense in his presser the other day. So he was discussing Indiana offense, talking about Mendoza, having faced him at Cal, to where he's at now here at Indiana. And he discussed the difference from a Cal team that offensively up front was challenged to protect him on a consistent basis, to now having a team and an offensive line that has a full complement of not just the aspect of pass protection, but a running game that goes along hand in hand, as Cal wasn't a great running football team. They're more based on the pass as they were. And therefore, he was talking about Mendoza and the challenges that present. He talked about the receivers and such. So it will be a very good matchup against this Oregon defense that has a couple defensive ends that can truly get it. And they will present a problem for this Indiana offense in terms of pass protection. Purdue's Dylan Thyman, who was there last year at Purdue, is now with the Oregon Ducks and having a really good year to date. Had the big interception against Penn State in that overtime game, was able to pick a pass from Drew Altmaier in that overtime session that actually finished the ball game and gave the victory to Oregon in that double overtime win there in Happy Valley. And so it'll be a little interesting, because you got to feel he may have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, having been a part of Purdue's final game last year against Indiana in the bucket game, where Indiana rolled them quite easily in a game that Purdue was never in, and Indiana kept putting it on them on a cold and snowy evening there in Bloomington. I don't know if anybody had a chance to see John Gruden's breakdown of this game on YouTube that he put out of this game Saturday, talking about both teams, talking about those that will no doubt have a impact on the game, in his unique, fiery way of discussing football. And he has an immense passion for football, irregardless of what level it's at. And that came through. Played a little bit of some theme music from Animal House, of course. And at the end gave a resounding pick of the Hoosiers over the Ducks, which was a very, very entertaining few minutes to catch there on his podcast via YouTube, that you can go search his prediction and evaluation of this ball game Saturday. And it's a man that definitely go see, and his enthusiasm for the game of football is second to none in that respect. Again, thanks for joining us here today on Indiana Sports Beat Radio as we head into the weekend. And what will be a very, very interesting and great time of the year in college football as teams are positioning themselves not only within their conference races, but also in the college football playoffs. And that is in itself, you've got Big Ten Media Days. We had Alec Lasley, Kyler Staley on yesterday discussing that in depth. And of course, Coach DeVries was on yesterday, was able to catch some of that as his son Tucker was also a part of it. But there's truly, again, I think there's a lot of similarities between Coach DeVries and the excitement that he has generated since being on the campus there in Bloomington and this ball club, where he's done things that maybe some coaches have not done, where he has been open in terms to the media and how opening the practices for them to come and watch and observe. And that in itself has been a big thing for that, as well as his involvement within the community there in Bloomington, as he's been a frequent coach that has been out in the community selling his program. But I have a fond appreciation for what he's trying to accomplish, trying to get Indiana back into the fray when it comes to college basketball. There's no question the success that Coach Cignetti has had within a short period of time as the head football coach will definitely benefit Coach DeVries, because I do think he will have that type of instant impact on Indiana. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to go win the national championship at this point, or let alone the Big Ten championship, but I do think they're a team that's going to give you a solid effort each and every time they set foot on the court. And I do think they're going to be a team that will have a couple big-time wins this year. I do believe they were picked 10th in the Big Ten for this season overall, but it was good to watch and listen to him speak about not only the transition from West Virginia to Indiana, but talking about the historic aspect of Indiana basketball, as well as having his son with him. I can just imagine in that aspect of things, having been a coach's son myself, that in itself has been, I'm sure a special thing for them and their family. And, but the Big Ten Media Days, of course, there's a lot of different, I guess you could say, different types of story points going on in that. But that was interesting to watch and listen to him and kind of compare, contrast, his style versus, what Coach Cignetti and his style. But I do think you're going to get a coach that puts on a product on the floor that's going to compete and play for the 40 minutes they're out there. And I do think they're going to get some big wins along the year in the Big Ten this year, even though at this point they're picked number 10th in the conference. maybe be lacking a few things here and there, but I think overall, Alec Lasley did a great job of kind of discussing some of those that are still out there that they're working. And we'll have to see how that all goes. But, you know, you got to be careful where you spend your money, I guess you could say. And you got to make those dollars work. And you just can't get too top heavy by just having the guy that you think and putting a bunch of money into him, and the productivity's not there. So in that regard as well. So it's one of those things we'll have to wait and see, but I do think Indiana is in the right set of hands with Coach DeVries at the helm. And Indiana athletics, as I think Jim was alluding to the other day, when you talk about it as a broad base, as a successful and very good college program overall, I just think that what Scott Dolson has done, the department as a whole, and I do think that Coach DeVries will get this ball club turnaround and on the right path just by the way his boys will play each and every week they step on the court. We're going to step away, take our second break here this morning. Appreciate you being along here with us today. And when we come back, hopefully we will have Kevin Brockway joining us. But don't step away from us as well, as we'll be back right after this here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back here to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. Jim working out some technical difficulties out there in the great state of Oregon, so he is hoping to jump on here once that is resolved. And sometimes you have to adapt, adjust, and improvise. And glad I'm able to do that today as we head into the weekend. Talked about Major League Baseball last night. Tigers and Mariners are today in their game 5. 8:08, the first pitch there, I believe, out in Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. They're all knotted up at 2, so deciding game 5 today. Heading in, the Cubbies had the big win last night over the Brew Crew, 6-0 there in Wrigley, and that place was rocking. As you would expect in baseball playoff and everything, but they knotted that up at 2 for that deciding game. That will be a great game 5 there in Milwaukee. Talked about the Dodgers' big win, 2-1 over the Phillies in a fashion that was not so great for the Phillies fans as they commit a huge error there in that ball game. And LA wins that series 3-1. So kind of a disappointing series for the Phillies and all. But that game 5 will for the Cubbies, as well as today with the Mariners, of being a part of that. And there he is, the one and only Mr. Jim Coyle, coming live from the Pacific Northwest in Eugene, Oregon, as he was able to get everything set up and ready. My friend, how are you this great day out there in Eugene?
Well, a lot less sleep than I anticipated, I can tell you that. Although I knew it was going to be weird, but I've got the story of all stories since Todd couldn't make it. This is going to blow your mind. Last night, staying in an Airbnb and was out on the deck with the one of the guys that got it, and a big shout out and thanks to Milk for doing that. But it's kind of a hillside area. I mean, it's kind of remote in a way, and a thin road, not a wide road. And I just see these cops come up, go by, and then some stop and get out, and they start walking around. And we'll save this for later. K-Bro's doing to join us. Let K-Bro pop in. K-Bro, how are you doing, my friend?
Are you in Oregon or no?
Oh,
yep.
Are you in
yes,
Oregon?
sir.
Or?
I certainly am in Eugene, as we're in anticipating this matchup with the number 3 Ducks and the number 7 Hoosiers, which I'm expecting to be a great game.
But you missed Big Ten Basketball Media Day, did you, or no?
I did. My travel wasn't set up right, so but we've had been fortunate to have a lot of access with the basketball program here recently. He's given us 2 practices to go to, and just a lot of other things. It's been
he needs to. He needs to. It's becoming a football state.
Yeah, that's right, man. It certainly has been, and it could be a heck of a lot more depending upon the outcome of this weekend's game. While Oregon is the favorite and the expected winner, with good reason, of course, they're damn good. And it's hard to come into this place. Look at the record. They haven't lost since the Civil War, I think. But no, they've got the nation's longest winning streak right now. It's a tough environment, very loud. I went out there last night and looked at it. Very unique setup. It's very cool. Have you been here before?
No, we were in Portland together, if you can remember, a few years ago, which was quite the trip. But no, never been to Eugene. But I think it would have been cool to go to the track too, right? Because they have a great track and field tradition and history there, and they have an unbelievable. They have the NCAA.
We drove around and looked at that stadium, and as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's that's an Olympic trials type stadium.
Oh yeah, no, they have a great, obviously, track and field history there as well. But football has certainly, under Dan Lanning, has taken the step. And look, maybe it started with even Mario Cristobal, who's doing good things down in Miami, and Lanning has taken it to another step. But they're really, like I said, one of the elite teams in the country, and a tremendous test for Indiana. But every time you count Kurt Cignetti out, he comes up with some kind of rabbit out of his hat. He's an amazing coach. So it should be a much anticipated battle.
Yeah, and if people have noticed, Cignetti's been muted, I guess I should say. He's just been a lot quieter going into this game, especially, but before in the pressers, I've noticed he has been more level, more businesslike. He gives the answers with not the sharpness sometimes, but he's just taking a more business approach to it, it seems, and you can tell the difference.
Well, I think he doesn't want to, motivate them, certainly, and a team of that talent too. It's best to come in kind of silently when you're facing this kind of Goliath that they're facing in terms of, Oregon right now really being one of the powers of college football. I mean, right now it's them, Ohio State, and Miami are probably the three best teams in the country. So I think it's going to be, like I said, tremendous challenge. Obviously, the quarterback is pretty special, and I think it starts with that, right?
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing how many Indiana fans are actually here, because it appears to be a pretty good number. There were several on my flight. I know there were several on another flight, and that was yesterday. And today's the day where most of them will arrive. So it'll be entertaining at the game, I'm sure. But it's going to be this could be the game of the year in college football. I mean, the Penn State Oregon State game was pretty good, no matter what happened to Penn State afterwards. But this could be one of those type of games. I wish it was at night.
Yeah, no, that would have been something. I'll tell you this, Jim, though, it's interesting because what have we seen in these Big Ten matchups? It didn't affect Indiana last year, maybe because of the talent of competition, but certainly it affected Penn State last week. But everyone talks about the travel and changing time zones, and what kind of factor is that going to be for Indiana too? Did they get out there early? Did they acclimate, or how will that situation play itself out? Because we've seen a lot of times when these teams cross time zones, they don't perform as well.
Yeah, but we had last year example of Cignetti having not done that and had to go to UCLA, and kind of where they got the starting point. That was kind of the jump off point for the season of good things could be coming. But they were able to navigate that last season. And I asked him about that in the presser this week, and and that, does it matter if it's an early game or later game? But so there you go. It is what it is, and they have to navigate it no matter what.
CBS game, right?
Yeah, 3:30.
Gary Danielson, is he retired now? Right? Who's doing the CBS for them now?
Is he retired? I don't know.
He retired, or is he retiring this year? Or he might still be doing it.
Yep. Well, hopefully
former Purdue quarterback Gary Danielson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Bob Greasy.
And played for the Lions.
But dude, you're not gonna believe what happened last night.
Okay.
We're staying in an Airbnb, and I kept watching. There were some police around it, and I kept watching it because I'm like, it's just odd. They were walking up and down the street. Next thing I know, there's something blaring out on a speaker. Cops are everywhere. They are climbing this hillside that we're on. That's like, like a Hollywood Hills type of steepness to it. And rubber bullets being fired everywhere, and within yards. I'm sitting there watching this all go down. And I'm like, what the hell? But yeah, it was crazy.
Kind of a protest or something, or what was going on?
No, it turned. I think it was like a burglary gang.
Oh,
and I don't know if they had caught them breaking into that house because these are nice houses, or if they were staying there. I don't know, but it was crazy, and it went deep into the night, which was already a deep night.
Have you found any good places to eat, or any recommendations, or what's the time?
Yeah. There's actually a place where a lot of Indiana fans are going to tonight at a place called Sam's Tavern, and it happens to be prime rib night. So, may have to get there a little early and order up some prime rib, baby, in the Eugene. So we'll see how that is. But yeah, we're gonna plan on seeing some things today. I've heard they have some type of a dispensary. Is that what it's called? A dispensary? I'm being facetious, bro. Yeah, but
like the
weather,
infamous one across from the street from the Northwestern Hotel. Is that what you're saying?
no. And the weather is typical Northwest weather right now, and it just turned. We were in a cigar store last night, and ended up having a story with a guy. He's from Boston, and he's a huge Larry Bird fan, and he was telling us about a sojourn he down to French Lick and all of that, and but I forgot what I was even saying now. I started telling that story, but it didn't matter.
No, it did not. Well, I'm going to Houston today, later this afternoon. My flight takes off at 1. Florida's up at Texas A&M. But Jim, you would have been proud of me. I was on a show earlier, and
I'm always proud of you.
Somebody was, but the problem in Gainesville is you can't convince these guys that the SEC is the best conference in football every year. And they're like this co-host, and obviously I'm a Miami grad, so was trying to discredit Miami from the statement of, we're never going to really know how good Miami is going to be because, you look at the rest of their schedule and the ACC and stuff, and you compare it to what Florida did or whatever. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. Not only did, Florida beat Miami head to head 26-7, but one of your best teams in the conference, Alabama, just happened to go to FSU and lose pretty badly. That's a black mark for the conference. I was joking. I'm like, the transitive property, Virginia beats Florida State beats Alabama beats Georgia. So does that make Virginia better than Georgia?
There you go. But we always have that Russian roulette type wheel every year. And it's like with the Big Ten championship. If Indiana were to beat Oregon, okay, well, that puts them on a path to the Big Ten title game because they would have to go to Penn State yet. But even if they lost that game and still go 11-1 by tiebreaker over Oregon, and Penn State will have multiple losses, Indiana will be ahead of both of those teams. So
I think part of the problem, these conferences have just gotten too big, and
yes.
there's no real, there's no round robin anymore. There's no, and, you used to have divisions, right? The SEC used to have divisions. And I kind of like the division format because of the fact that, you had that familiarity with the same teams every year. And then every once in a while you crossed over. But, the whole thing is a mess. And the SEC going to 9 games, I think they laid it out a little better that everyone's going to see each other. But, like Florida, this is going to be, I think, the 3rd or 4th time in the last decade that Florida's gone out to Texas A&M. Auburn, which is a school that's within driving distance, probably 300 miles, 4-hour drive and stuff. They've only played them once in the last 15 years up in the plains in Auburn. And yet they've been schlepping them out to Texas halfway across the country. There's no fairness built into these schedules. It's just kind of this round robin, hodgepodge thing that they've done. And, I'm sure it's the same way in the Big Ten too. And it's probably even worse with the, obviously the travel in terms of, crossing all these time zones.
Yeah, but I think at least in the Big Ten, they're trying to make the teams at the top play each other in some form or fashion. Indiana does not play Ohio State or Michigan this year, but they go at Penn State and at Oregon and at Iowa. So I think that more than takes the place of that because these teams were thought to be, Oregon is one of the top 5 teams. Penn State was, and they're still a better team than people think they are, regardless. But and Illinois, a top 10 Illinois team. So there's no qualms about Indiana's schedule, but I think the Big Ten did a good job with that and having a crossover at the top and making sure those teams play each other, because if not, that's where you really get into questioning how it really is.
Following the Big Ten closely, which team do you think is better, Ohio State or Oregon?
Well, I've just kept saying, I've said Oregon all year. First of all, Dan Lanning is doing such a unbelievable job to go into Penn State, win under those conditions. That's tough to get done. I mean, that shows that team is man, they've got onions. So if you can go into that environment and withstand that comeback, I mean, really their backs were against the wall, but I don't know that that's the case, though, because I haven't really seen Ohio State play that much because of the Indiana games. But we'll find out at the end of the season. We won't have to worry about wondering, unless Indiana were to beat Oregon. that would just really stir up the apple cart, and it's a possibility. Indiana can win this game. Are they likely to? No, they're not likely to, and that's the reality. But it is possible.
What's the spread?
7.5.
7.5.
It down
For Indiana win. What do you think they'll have to do? Just establish a run, keep the ball out.
That's number one right off the bat. They have got to be able to run the ball in this game. That will do two things. That will actually slow down the Oregon offense somewhat, but Indiana's offense is fast as well. But establishing the run, which will open up the passing game a little bit more, and that's when you can really kind of do your thing. But they've got to contain Dante Moore. You're not going to stop him, but you've got to contain him. These chunk yardage plays they've been kind of victim of this year. That has to go, and special teams are probably going to come into play here. The conditions are going to be light rain. I think there's going to be a little more rain as the game goes on, probably, and taking care of the ball. It's either going to be whoever doesn't turn the ball over, or it could be a who has the ball last scenario.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been seeing some reports about the line of scrimmage disparity in terms of the size, right? Oregon's offense versus Indiana's defense and so forth. Is that a concern to you or a concern to fans, or has Indiana managed to play well playing small on defense?
Absolutely, it's a concern because that's what the Achilles heel was last year when they went to Ohio State and Notre Dame. So we'll see how they can overcome that, Coach. I assume we're getting close to a break.
Yes, sir. And I never give 2 cents about the disparity in weight, because quickness beats weight every time.
That's true. No, yeah. I mean, there's a lot
of strength.
There's a lot of different ways to build it, and certainly, pursuit on tackling, there's something to be said for that. So I think that's, like I said, a very, very well, very good point there. But guys, I got to run because I got to pack, but I wish you both well and enjoy beautiful Oregon.
Appreciate you. Where are you headed to, brother?
I'm heading to Houston, Texas A&M, Florida, Texas A&M tomorrow night, ESPN, 7 p.m. Should be a pretty crazy atmosphere, 102,000. If you've ever been to a game at Texas A&M, they do these kooky cheers, like they have the yell captains and everything. It's quite the atmosphere. So it should be. I think they do bonfires on Friday night in College Station too, which should be interesting. Should be fun.
And they're going to be a player going forward because of all that Cody Campbell money. But appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah,
and,
the Aggies are legit. I mean, I think they're a legit college football playoff contender in terms of offense, defense. This is going to be a tremendous challenge for Florida. But they're coming off that win over Texas, which I think that they were exposed as being a little more fraudulent last week. Arch Manning has got a lot of work to do to be an above average quarterback, let alone an elite quarterback in college football, I think.
I agree with you, and we'll certainly find out. I was talking about Texas Tech. They're going to be a player in the game, but we'll let you run, brother. Appreciate you. Enjoy your game and safe travels.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
You betcha. Yeah, Coach, it is. I think this game this weekend, the Indiana-Oregon game, I think it is going to live up to the billing. I'm not going to say the hype because I don't know what the hype has been. I've been disconnected from it, but I would imagine that there's been a lot of hype. But I think it's going to live up to its billing, is what I'm going to call it, because these are both very good teams that are very well coached, that do not beat themselves. And man, that's when you just get a good old-fashioned fun football game. But then you throw in the fact that the talent that is on both sides, at the specialty positions, these guys, this is NFL caliber players in this game, and we're on both sides of the ball, and both sides, both quarterbacks. This is going to be this could be a classic. Don't want to build it up too much and then it'd be a flop, but it really could be. I'm just having that feeling about this game for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, the hard part is since Indiana has never played to date Oregon in the recent, years, it's hard to gauge that dynamic of, how good they really are. You get in a perception on tape or on a game, and yeah, we know that they're pretty darn good, but you're trying to match it up against Indiana that we've seen quite frequently against a team they've not played against in quite some time. But there's no question Indiana is going to have to play their A+ game there in Eugene to get themselves in a position to have a chance to win this ball game. I do think they're going to have to gain some turnovers, and they're going to have to win the field position battle. They're going to have to force Oregon to drive the long field, because if they give Oregon the short field for the majority of this game, it's going to be a long, long day in Eugene, because this offense that Dan Lanning has with Dante Moore is very explosive. And they got a couple of freshman phenoms playing for them, one at running back and one at wide receiver. So it's going to be a interesting dynamic between Will Stein, the offensive coordinator, and Brian Haynes. But we're going to step aside, take another break here. We'll be right back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this here.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this a little bit of a rainy Friday. I am in Eugene, Oregon. Coach is back at Studio A1 in Indiana. So, but looking forward to a great weekend out here, but also a lot of other games to keep an eye on going around the country as now we're getting into that time of the season where they do matter, where losses matter, where people start to really pay attention. The college football committee is maybe this is week 7, I believe. So I think it's week 8. They'll jump in. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, I use insider there, joining us now as well. Zach, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sorry, my I wound up. I think I lost the hotel sweepstakes this time around, so my internet's not doing so hot. But I hope you can hear me.
Oh, absolutely. And thanks for joining us because I know you're in the middle of a lot of travel as well up at in Chicago at Rosemont for Big Ten basketball media days, and then flying out of there to head to Eugene today. But quickly at the basketball media days, anything jump out, or is this just a typical basketball media days?
It's funny. I think part of what jumped out was that it felt like. I mean, this is a pleasant change of pace, but we've had so much access to this group. So far this summer, going back to the Puerto Rico trip, and obviously team media days, and we've been able to see a couple practices, and um, listen, there's part of it that I think it's hard to draw storylines out of a team that's brand new. These guys don't have history together. They don't have sort of you haven't covered their career from when they were a recruit to a freshman to be able to sort of track the long tail arc of their development. So there's a lot of it that almost feels like we need to sort of see them play to really understand what all the storylines around this team are going to be. But we've also just, quite frankly, a lot of what was getting asked about Thursday, a lot of what was coming up with Darren DeVries is stuff that we've already talked to him about, and that's, like I said, that is a pleasant change of pace. I'm not complaining at all, but it was, just kind of a strange sort of set of circumstances that for the first time in a long time, it doesn't feel like we had to wait until media days to get a lot of these questions answered. A lot of what we heard out of DeVries and his players, IU media has heard already for a couple months now.
Yeah, I agree at 100%, and partly why I'm already in Eugene. My travel for me was best to go on Thursday, and I'm like, well, I hate to miss it, but I feel like it's just going to be running over the same ground, other than not talking to, say, some of the other coaches, Dusty May and Izzo and Painter and those guys and the players. But so I ended up not being at media days for the first time in nearly a decade. But I agree with you 100% on that, which is a good thing, as you said. And I think that that's going to also go forward, because I asked at the presser last week with him about that. And he talked about, basically giving ownership to those fans that have supported the program, and he's putting his money where his mouth is. So it is an unbelievably refreshing sign. So hopefully that changes. And I saw a video that Big Ten did with him and Tucker DeVries, and it seems so natural, which is a great thing. I think that, we talk about how teams take on the personalities of their coaches sometimes, and DeVries is just a very relaxed guy off the court, and can be on the court as well, but he can be just as intense. So, and we've seen that intensity in these Indiana basketball practices, and that is one thing that has been a constant every time that I've got to see him, that intensity. So I just keep telling fans, I think you're going to enjoy watching these games. I can't predict what they're going to do because I don't know how good they're going to be. I don't know how good everybody else is in the league right now in college sports. That's why the numbers 1, 2, and 4 preseason football teams are not even in the poll anymore. So, but I think that they're going to be able to compete, Zach. I really do, from what we've seen. And I'm thinking they're probably going to end up in the 6 to 10 range somewhere, but I don't know that. I think it's going to be fun watching that journey.
Yeah, I think you're going to be a fun team to watch. I mean, frankly, I think, you and I both saw them in Puerto Rico. I think if we're being honest, they're going to score some points and they're going to give up some points. And, if you have to watch, if you got to watch a team sort of go through some growing pains and figure some things out in year one, you might as well watch some fun basketball while you're at it. And I think, listen, this team is an experienced team, so I think that piece of it is probably going to help more than we're giving them credit for. But I also think, just in general, any team's still got to go through, so much of what we talk about, no matter your age, in terms of figuring out how to gel together, the chemistry, your roles, your pecking order, who your alphas are, who your leaders are, all that kind of stuff. And obviously that's why the summer was important, why the practices were important, why Puerto Rico was important. But I think there's still going to be some of that Indiana's just got to do. There's some of that you're just going to have to only be able to do, in games.
I agree. Well, now let's talk about this football game that's going on this weekend. Numbers 3, Oregon taking on the number 7 Indiana Hoosiers, and I've had this feeling all week, Zach, that this game is going to live up to what it should be from what we've seen from these two teams. And I hate to say the word hype, that it's being hyped, but I haven't seen all that. I've been kind of removed from it, but I just think these are two really good football teams that are coached well and they don't beat themselves. Oregon has the advantage, and Indiana's not supposed to win this game, but I think that they definitely can win this game.
Yeah, I think they absolutely can. I think, these two teams are more similar than I think people appreciate. They both have really efficient offenses, really efficient quarterbacks. They rotate pretty steadily at the skill positions. I think, it's been noted how much they both take on the personality of their head coaches. Obviously, those head coaches have slightly different personalities, but I think there's a lot of mutual respect there between Dan Lanning and Kurt Signetti. They're two teams that tend to limit big plays. That's kind of the strength of both defenses. Oregon's defense, schematically, structurally, statistically, looks a little bit different to Indiana's. It's not quite as disruptive, probably a little bit deeper, all things considered, in terms of just like how many actual bodies will play, at every kind of level of that defense. But they limit big plays. They get offenses behind schedule, and they kind of put you in, disadvantageous situations that then they go take advantage of. I think too, they both seem to have, and I was watching some of that Oregon Oklahoma State game, and it felt like watching, obviously it was before the Indiana Illinois game, but it felt similar to watching the Indiana Illinois game. And Oklahoma State and Illinois are two, very different teams this year, but that ability, that quality that like coaches in all sports, sort of crave, that everyone wants and very few find in a team, to just be able to say, no matter what the score is, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the game is, no matter what the context is, they play every play the same intensity, same effort, same focus, same toughness, same energy, same enthusiasm. And I think you saw that in that Oregon Oklahoma State game, where Oregon, is trying to call off the dogs, but the defense is scoring touchdowns, and backup running backs are scoring touchdowns. You see that in the Illinois and the Indiana State games for Indiana, and I think it is, like you said, these two teams are given they've come at it from different directions in a lot of different ways. I think it's going a little bit unappreciated how similar these two teams are, maybe philosophically and culturally. And that's why I think it could be a really fascinating matchup this weekend in Eugene.
Yeah, and I agree, and both having such good running teams, and I think that's where Indiana may have a slight edge. That's one of the few places they do have maybe the favorites role in, but very important to see what they can do up against this Oregon team with this running game, because it has been pretty good, even against Iowa for the most part. But if you don't take off that 4,000-yard loss of Fernando Mendoza on that last play. But I agree with you. I've just been thinking in my head, this is going to be a good game. And it comes out however it comes out. It's going to come out whichever team doesn't turn the ball over, takes care of the ball, and maybe who has the ball last in one of these games. It's going to be a good litmus test for Indiana as a program. And Zach, in my mind, unless I've got it wrong, which is likely to happen, if Indiana were to beat Oregon and able to go 11-1, even if they lost to Penn State, I think that would put them on a path to the Big Ten title game, just because they'd have a tiebreaker over Oregon. Penn State's going to have multiple losses. They'd have a tiebreaker over Illinois. And Nebraska would be the only other team that could possibly challenge them, I think. But that's it. There's a lot at stake.
No, I mean, a win opens the road for whoever wins this game to Indianapolis. Like pretty clearly, neither one of them play Ohio State, as you said. Penn State's already got 2 losses. Obviously, you have a couple other teams floating around. Indiana's got the tiebreaker over Illinois. I don't think USC is going to get through the season with only one conference loss. Michigan is maybe the one, sort of, floating outlier there in terms of, does Michigan get to the end of the season with one or fewer conference losses? But if we consider that the contenders have kind of pared themselves down at this point to IU, Ohio State, and Oregon, Ohio State's got its own big business to take care of. They don't play either of these teams, so neither of these teams affect their path to the Big Ten championship game. And if you look at the schedule after this, because as you said, Penn State lost, they can each go forward from here, affording to lose a game. And that's obviously before we know what results happen elsewhere, but they can each afford a loss going forward here, and still be firmly in control of their own destiny as it relates to Indy. So it's not a play-in game for the Big Ten championship game. You don't play those on October 11th, but it is very much a game that sets the course for the rest of the season for both teams in terms of what their conference level ambitions can be.
Absolutely. And I know you've got to get going and get on a flight here soon. And I appreciate you taking the time and in between the Big Ten media days and getting out here to Eugene. So enjoy and safe travels, brother. And we'll see you out here in Eugene.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jim, as always.
Thank you, sir. Zach Osterman, IU's insider for the Indy Star. Make sure you're giving him a follow and keeping up with all that he does. Coach, yeah, it's going to be a big. I think it's going to be a fist. I think it's going to be a fist fight, what I call an old-fashioned fist fight, and I think it's going to be an entertaining game. The football weather has set in. It's going to be drizzly and in the upper 50s during the game. It just sounds like a great environment. Went to the stadium yesterday, as I said earlier. I love the design of the stadium. Now, if that thing was just like it is and bigger, it would be the most daunting place on earth, probably. It does remind me of Bristol Motor Speedway. That's kind of what it reminds me of. On how it's set up, but beautiful place. Not a lot of parking. I don't think a lot of tailgating goes on around here. And to my knowledge, this game's not sold out yet, which is amazing to me.
Wow.
Maybe it is. I don't know, but the last I saw was a poster saying buy tickets, but I can't imagine this game doesn't sell out.
Yeah.
Just from the amount of Indiana fans I've seen coming, but this could be another situation where it was when they were playing Tennessee in the Gator Bowl, and I thought that until we got to the stadium, and I'm like, oh crap, there was 80% Tennessee, but yeah, I think this is going to be such a fun matchup. What can they keep Dante more contained? Can they keep the Oregon's defensive line off of Fernando Mendoza to give him enough time to do something? Does Indiana alter their offense a little bit and put in a little more quick plays, not waiting so long, just this plays where you're not going through progressions, you're looking for a target and hoping that target is open on bam, 3-step drop, boom, or 5-step drop and let it go. I mean, these timing throws, something we haven't seen at all this year is the back shoulder throw, Coach. That has gone away from this offense from Curtis Rourke, who was like a precision surgeon with that throw. I mean, he had that thing down to an art. Not one time do I recall seeing a purposeful back shoulder throw this season. You're muted there.
I talked a little bit about that last night, and it's on the tailgate, and I just don't think Fernando's comfortable throwing that type of throw. Now, they did against Iowa the one big play down the left sideline to Surratt, which was kind of like I call a fade stop, where it's kind of premeditated that he's going to pull out of the route and then deliver the ball. But that is as simple as Curtis Rourke made it look a year ago. It is a very difficult throw in that respect. And I just don't think
it's a confidence throw. It's a timing throw.
Right.
And I think that, Fernando is more comfortable with, he has an arm, and he is more comfortable with these throws that are a little more open, I guess you'd say, for some reason. Another thing I think we're going to see is the long ball. Indiana has not stretched the field this year with these deep over the top type throws. So we'll see if that comes out to play. But you need time to make that throw, unless you got a one-on-one situation and you can get a guy loose. But that's where all this stuff has to come together for Indiana.
Yeah, Fernando's getting the ball out of his hands in 2.6 seconds, which is one of the quickest release times within not only the Big Ten, but the country. So that tells you what Indiana's mindset is when it comes to the more quick pass type of game. But you're correct. They do have to stretch the field vertically. They got to have some targeted throws down the field, especially to E.J. Williams. E.J. Williams has got to be a big-time target in this ball game, for the sense that he's got the height and length to go up one-on-one against this type of ball club and win those battles. And that's not to say Surratt or Omar Cooper doesn't. I'm just saying EJ is one of those guys that I think they can target vertically down the field. The other one that I think has to be more involved in this game plan is Holden Stays. He's a big body receiver that can take on, the big one-on-one matchup down the field against a linebacker, or be it a safety to a degree. But he's another one that I think needs to be in that mindset of targeting with everything.
Don't say targeting.
But anyway, that's the key component as well, like you stated there, with the vertical passing game, and there's no question about it. And I just don't think Fernando is overly comfortable with that back shoulder throw. I may be totally wrong, but from what I've seen, I just don't think he's comfortable with it. But we'll talk.
I agree.
We'll talk more about that when we get back here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this break.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming, or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Game week, game day, Friday, getting set up. It's not game day, I understand, but I'm out in Eugene, Oregon. Jim Coyle here with you as always, and Coach Griff back manning things at Studio 1A in the far plains of Indiana, and we appreciate that greatly. I should call it the headquarters. You know how David Letterman used to move the headquarters around. Welcome back to the headquarters of ISB Media, coming to you from Omaha, Nebraska. He was great with that. But man, yeah, looking forward to a great weekend. I hate that I did miss basketball media days, that I didn't get to talk to a lot of the other coaches, Dusty and Matt Painter and those guys, but and the players. But you know, it's not. I just didn't feel like I was missing anything this year because of the access Indiana basketball has given us under Darren DeVries, like Zach said a moment ago. So another big game this weekend, Coach. Oklahoma and Texas. And now John Mateer is going to try to play, apparently, in that game after having hand surgery, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I believe it was that. I mean, he was wanting to, push the envelope and be ready for that game. And quite honestly, they need him because of what he brings to the table, that offense, because he's such a dual threat of a quarterback. And I think that Indiana will have, Texas will have their hands full with him. But that is a classic Red River rivalry there at the Texas State Fair, Cotton Bowl, so much historical game in that regard. So that one will be a big time game as well.
Welcome in our good friend Jeffery The Greek, brought to you by Pave Drain Heating, heated driveways.
How you doing, guys?
Right?
Yeah, we're doing great, Jeff. And I need some of that heated driveway. I think we have to talk a little bit.
I know
talk to me offline.
Coach,
Yeah.
I know a guy. I know a guy who knows a guy at least. But yeah,
Most
welcome.
efficient way to do it. Yep. Hey, what's up, guys? Let's talk some football. Big Ten football.
Absolutely a big weekend ahead, of course, for Indiana, Oregon. We've been talking about that. And Ohio State, it's not a huge game, but you're tested every week, it seems, from a lot of the other games we've seen. Now, I don't know if that's just because I don't want this to be a biased thought, but I'm starting to, I already know that Ohio State and Oregon are the top of the class, in my opinion. Miami might be in there, but I'm wondering, and we will find out tomorrow, is Indiana actually one of those teams? Because we've seen so many teams that were proven to be fraudulent, Penn State, Texas, that numbers 1 and 2 in the country in the preseason, man. So we've seen what was out of them. There's just so much biased thought that goes into things.
Yeah.
But I don't want to overreact to that as well. I know Indiana's a really, really good team, but this is going to be a great litmus test
for both teams. So we talked on the Eyes on Big podcast, Big Kurt and I. What does this game need to look like for Indiana to finally get some respect nationally, somewhat regardless of who wins the game or not? Now bear with me. Okay, so if Indiana goes into the zoo and beats Oregon, I don't care how the game looks like. You are now a obvious college football playoff team. I think you are also a college football playoff winner, contention. Like you should, like those two absolutely should go hand in hand. I have a ton of, Indiana fans reaching out to me on Twitter in DMs asking that same thing. I'm like, absolutely. Like everybody considers Oregon to be at worst the third or fourth team in the country. So if Indiana goes in and beats them, that's it. Indiana is a championship team. If it's a close game, like if it's something like 24-21, Oregon just kind of outlasts Indiana, I still think the same thing is accomplished. Like, so now if we get to be Indiana gets outclassed by Oregon, now we're going to have some of the same conversations. So like, I don't think there's a absolute ton of pressure on Indiana to just, to win the game or outclass Oregon or anything like that. Make it a game. You have sort of got, the same thing accomplished. But if you win it, you should be no worse than third in the country, in my opinion, right away. The only two teams I can even entertain the idea that Indiana should be behind is Ohio State and Miami. But that's what makes, that's just part of what makes this game so intriguing.
I agree 1,000%. And I've thought that very, very thing. It would be mind-boggling. Don't get me wrong. But it is a reality of a possibility. That's the point. This is not some crazy, wild-eyed what if kind of a thing. But hey, Oregon is a great team. They have a great coach. I love how he is. I love his persona. You can tell he's pretty amenable, but it doesn't take long to get on the wrong side of Dan Lanning, I think. And you will feel that wrath, and that wrath comes heavily. But he's packing, man. He comes packing. Coach Siggs, talked about the defensive line. That dude, they can roll 4 guys in there, bam, at over 330, and bring in another group right after that. And so that's where they're going to have an advantage on Indiana. There's no question, because Indiana's not that deep. They're good at the offensive line, but they're not that deep at the offensive line.
Whatever Dan Lanning was on at the end of that Penn State, you might have to get your hands on it, Jim, being at this 5 o'clock wake up times for these shows on the West Coast. But we talked on the podcast that I believe this is the best O-line, D-line combo that Oregon has faced all year. Okay. Absolutely. Hands down with Indiana. So don't look past that. This is a very good Indiana O-line, very good D-line. Do I think it will absolutely prevent Oregon from doing whatever they want? No. Why? Because Dante Moore is so in control. He's elusive. His ability to get out of a pass rush, collect himself, pick up 4 or 5 yards, learn to fight another down, or throw the ball, downfield, finding the open guy that's broke loose in the coverage. It is extremely hard to stop. There is no way, in my opinion, to stop this Oregon offense for an entire game with Dante Moore. So points will get put on the board. I do think, though, that this will be one of the biggest tests for Oregon's offensive line. And I say that with them going into Happy Valley to take on Penn State. So I think this is going to be a huge test, but maybe the other side of it is even more important to the game, which is Oregon's offensive line versus Indiana's front seven. I just don't think people understand how active that front seven is for Indiana, how well coached they are until they go up against it. I do think Oregon's offensive line is better than I had anticipated coming into the year, but this will be a gigantic test. I can't wait to see all of that. The other thing that is interesting to me, Siggy is a confident man, speaks with his chest. Certainly that has worked with Indiana. Seems to be a little bit more cautious with the offensive game plan on the road in these big time environments. I think he kind of talked about it this week in the press conference. You have got one of the more intelligent quarterbacks. He's well versed as far as the offense now, and just being a seasoned veteran. You have got to put this game on Fernando Mendoza, aka the Heisman Mendoza. If Indiana is going to win the game, it has to be trusting Mendoza, even on the road, to run as much of that offense as you possibly can.
And I agree with that. And I was curious. He was asked a question that I had, because I talked about this, Coach, after the Iowa game, that I didn't understand why they don't have the capability to audible, because in that second 4th and 1 situation that they were in, after already being stopped by Iowa's good defense, solid defensive line, they stacked the box. And I'm like, dude, and they try to run it, and I'm like, they ran into a brick wall. but they don't have the ability to audible out of plays. And he just says, we've never really been an audible team. And I just find that so hard to believe, because you're going to come into many situations where you need to be.
And most of the time, those are signals. That's what they do. You set up a plan ahead of time. Sometimes those signals will be changed at quarter, at half, because, defensive quarters, but you have to have at least one checkout in those big moments, which that 4th and 1 play versus Iowa was. I was very surprised to hear Siggy say that. Like that kind of blew my mind. I understand you can't do that with a young quarterback that would have a hard time, or a younger offense, but this is a little bit more seasoned, quarterback in Indiana offense. So that was very surprising. But that stoutness, I know I'm going to sound like a, proud parent here, but that stoutness on the O-line, D-line that Iowa brought is very high. Now, Oregon has that same level of O and D-line with better skill players than what Iowa brings to the table, so that's the step up for Indiana.
I think part of it is Cignetti is so intent on his teams and his games being as clean as possible. And when you start audibling or trying to audible and you can't hear and you can't get the signal, and now the clock's running down, did everybody hear it? So I understand it's very tough, but it's doable. And I think that to win at the highest level, you're going to have to be able to get through those adversarial times. And they're going to be just like that this weekend. So we'll certainly find out. But
let me can I add one thing, please? We talked on the podcast. There is a lot of guys playing for the Hoosiers, Waffle House, Roman Hemby, even Mendoza. I can't wait for these Oregon fans to see these dudes making plays, and Oregon fans' minds blown. Like, who are these guys? How does the lowly Indiana Hoosiers find these dudes to get open, make plays, guys, and then switching over to the defense, dudes in their front seven and secondary. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm can't say I'm a huge fan of these West Coast teams that have come into the Big Ten. I know who I'm going to be cheering for on Saturday afternoon.
Well, and I will say this as well. In that Iowa game, I really started to think, okay, are they holding back? They keeping a section of the playbook closed, looking to the Oregon game, knowing how big it was going to be. I know he was more than confident.
No,
he respected going into Iowa, but he was confident that they're going to win that game.
No, the game plan was simple. It was don't make mistakes. Just trust on the football team we are from top to bottom that it will be good enough to beat Iowa. Unfortunately, from my point of view, it was. Now, it was ever so close, with that game plan, but certainly Siggy played it close to the vest. Idle week, what you learned in that Iowa game cannot come to the zoo with that same game plan. It's got to be more aggressive. Again, appointment television. Can't wait to see how things look early in the game when Indiana has the ball.
Yeah, you're going to have I got a quick question here too to pipe in. PFF, I think, is one of the better sources out there to look at the analytical side of the coin and some of these things. Right now, the game to watch up front that you've so eloquently laid out with the Oregon defensive line versus IU's offensive line is the right side of Indiana's offensive line. They've given up 6 pressures thus far. Oregon will exploit that and see if Indiana has addressed that with Evans and Benson. And that's the game within the game you're going to have to take a look at, because if they cannot handle their pressures or their defensive linemen, exploiting that, it's going to be a problem for Indiana for protectional purposes, as well as being able to run the ball effectively. And you're correct. Indiana is a simple offensive scheme. There's no complications with it. They are an inside zone coupled with RPOs. And that is their makeup, and
Yep.
Lanning even said that they know their identity, they know how to run it, they know how to disguise it, things of that. But that's the game within the game Saturday. I think you have to take a closer look at is the right side of Indiana's O-line versus this stout Oregon defense and the pressures that they may try to exploit there to see if Indiana's addressed it.
And could not agree more. They will flop Ugalele, their best pass rusher, all over the field. Does he permanently just park on their left side of the defense, Indiana's right side of the offensive line? That will be interesting to see. What I would say, so everything you talked about as far as, managing the pass rush, managing the game, keeping it simple, could not agree more. Everybody talks about third down conversions. Certainly it's huge. If you see a team that has a high percentage of third down convergence, it's usually the team that's moving the ball and winning the game. I would put a premium on first down for Indiana's offense in this game. I think you're going to get a high dose of the RPOs with Mendoza getting that, almost for sure 3 or 4 yards, or just running the ball, to your duo of running backs. That's I think quite a bit underrated. So like first down will be huge. Don't get behind the chains, because two things, that Oregon pass rush, which is very good. I don't know about elite. It's very good, but just the overall crowd noise, excitement, you don't want to put your quarterback in it, mixed with, back to the Siggy situation, he is going to make sure his quarterback does not make a mistake that is a game changing mistake. So you're going to see a lot of conservative play calling on 3rd and 7+ out of Siggy. So what do? Try not to get yourself in 3rd and 7+, because I think there's going to be a high percentage of conservative play call punt from this Indiana offense. And I follow that, I very much support that, but just try not to get yourself in those third and long situations.
And Jeffery the Greek with us, and Jeff's been a supporter of IU all year long. I mean, he's been very open-minded, and he has saw Indiana for what they are, and which has been something that and most people most national guys, unless you're around the program, though, I kind of get it. If you're not really truly around and paying attention to it, there's just no way you're not going to just have that thought of Indiana sucks in your mind.
Just watch the game and knock the helmets. It's really not that hard. Watch the games. Now, I mostly just focus on the 18 teams in the Big Ten, because at 18 teams, it's enough teams to concentrate on. So these national guys, I get it. It's nearly impossible for them to watch all of these teams. But once Indiana has proven themselves to be at the top of the Big Ten for a year and a half now, maybe you spend a little bit more time watching Indiana than South Carolina. It's really not that hard. Just check out the team, but that's the laziness. I won't say his name, but there was a guy on national radio on Monday. He does a spot on the SiriusXM College Sports Show, and he started talking about the top teams, and he understandably started with Ohio State and Miami. That's my 1 and 2 as well. Then he started breaking down Alabama, of course, and Georgia, of course. He mentioned Oklahoma. He went on and on about Texas A&M. Whole segment goes by, didn't even bring up the Hoosiers. To me, that's the respect Indiana is trying to go into the zoo on Saturday and try to pull out.
Absolutely, I agree with you, and it'll be fun if they do. But I'll tell you that, because the fans will be happy as heck, and we'll have plenty to talk about on the post-game show. There are a couple other big games this weekend, and Ohio State goes to Illinois. I don't expect anything there, because I just don't think Illinois has that elite punch. And Ohio State traveled to Washington last week, and what I thought was going to be a tough game, and they handled that with ease. So that should be easy for Ohio State. Then you've got Alabama and Missouri. I think this is a fascinating game. Personally, I think Missouri is the SEC's Indiana. They are not getting the respect that I think they deserve. They're pretty good on both sides of the ball, but we'll see. This is a bit, but if Alabama loses this game, this is bad for Alabama, Jeff.
I Couldn't care less. Whatever's bad for Alabama and Missouri. Can I cheer for a meteor to hit the stadium? There's my take on that game.
He's a Big Ten guy only, man. Yeah, I'm just trying to hit some of the other high games. Anything else? What else in the Big Ten are you paying attention to? How about what about the Hawkeyes?
What I would add with Ohio State is, are they the best team in Ohio? Period. with the Bengals and the Browns included in that. I do agree with that.
How about Cincinnati? If Cincinnati didn't lose to Nebraska, was it Nebraska? I think.
Yeah, Nebraska.
And guess what? Their quarterback transferred from Indiana.
I know.
Brendan
It's insane.
Sorsby. And he's been
I remember.
crazy over there, and good for them.
Yeah.
But just think if they were 5-0 right now, and they're very close to have gotten that done. A win over Iowa State.
Yeah. Anyways, with Ohio State, the defense is incredible. I mean, I am like trying to dissect it as much as possible. Their ability to play base, but then switch it and get aggressive when they need to. I mean, Patricia is just absolutely owning teams. I just can't trust Indiana's defense on the other side to stop that Ohio State offense. The only thing that scares me about that game is why the line is only 14 points. Like it seems like it should be more than that. Like I'm predicting Ohio State to cover that with ease, but something's baked into that 14 and a half point spread. Couple of other games. I mean, Nebraska, Maryland. I mean, that is intriguing to me. Maryland is much better than, Maryland is almost like Indiana Light, where they are a lot better team this year. Nobody's paying attention to why, because Maryland, we're used to them looking good in September and then falling apart when the weather cools. I do think this is a little bit different flavor Maryland team. So that game being dogs at home versus Nebraska, I mean, I can't wait to see that. USC, Michigan, this is a helmet school game that I can't wait to see. I mean, number one, again, USC, Michigan, amazing uniforms, like mix all that together. But it's, the styles of the fight is what's incredible. This is a completely different way to look at college football for what Sherrone Moore's doing and Lincoln Riley's doing in USC. I have been disappointed with a lot of teams playing USC. They don't grab them, bring them into the phone booth and beat them up. The one team that was smart enough to do that, go figure, coached by Brett Bielema, the Illinois Fighting Illini, that's what they did to USC, and they beat them, So I expect Michigan to do that, but flying all the way out to the West Coast, I think it'll actually
and this
be
game is
low-scoring.
of great importance to SC. They have to bounce back from that loss to Illinois. They need this win.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to both teams, but you're right. The reaction from those ridiculous USC fans, I mean, they're just ridiculous human beings. And all season long, it is, we are going to lay waste to the Big Ten. You slow, thick-ankled, ridiculous people. We are USC. You are not. They get beat by Illinois, and they are ready to burn the whole thing down. Fire Lincoln Riley. The guy's a bum and everything. They have recovered now, in the last week and a half being idle. But if Michigan goes into the Coliseum and beats USC, Lincoln Riley might as well put his house on the market, because I don't think he's going to be able to save himself from the Trojan fans.
I agree with that, because they need that win, and you add in the travel factor, which I know is not an automatic thing, but it does play into it. And Michigan's not that good. They've got their highlights, but they've got a freshman quarterback that's playing well, but I don't think they have a lot around him.
I agree that their pass catchers leave a lot to be desired. Listen, I'm protective of teams that are quote unquote not that good, when I think Michigan can wind up being a 9-win team. A 9-win team in the Big Ten is good. I mean, I think Michigan's, everybody says, their pass game is awful. Here's my take on it. What happens if Michigan figures something out in their throw game? Then I barely see a weakness from top to bottom with this team. So I have a little bit more glasses half full look for Michigan. Justice Haynes.
They could go 10-2.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you still have 10-2 on the table for what Michigan can do, that's a pretty good, if not really good team. Justice Haynes, their running back, arguably the best running back in the Big Ten.
Upper level. Yeah.
What I'm saying is that The upper level, which we definitely think is Ohio State, probably Oregon and Indiana, recalibrate your thought process. Like, those teams are excellent. You can be an 8-4 team in the Big Ten and still be a really good team. Tony Panini tried to mention this at the Big Ten Media Days and got chastised for it. I have been defending him since the get-go. Like, my point is, he is correct. There are 8-4, certainly 9-3 teams in the Big Ten that are still really good teams, but the schedule you go against, traveling all around, playing teams from top to bottom, that's what people don't. We have to recalibrate this. You know, there used to be times where, you know, really good teams would go 8-4 as a disappointment. It might not be such a bad thing for how this plays out.
You're exactly right, and that's an argument the SEC is going to have this year when the CFP comes around, because as opposed to the Big Ten, where I think has some elite teams, I don't think there are any elite teams yet that I've seen in the SEC, but there are a lot of really good teams in the SEC, and they go really deep. So they're going to have what was the old back in wrestling? They'd have the big 12-man extravaganza. I can't remember what they called them.
The cage matches. Yeah, everybody. And I'm old enough to remember. I totally agree that the SEC not as good at the top, but very deep. I'm old enough to remember when the Big Ten was built like that. That meant you were crap. The only thing we were supposed to judge you on was the success of the top one or two teams in your conference, and ignore the rest. It's amazing how that script has flipped now that the Big Ten has the top teams in the country and not as much depth as the SEC, which I totally agree. Does have really good depth. Yeah,
the Battle Royale. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a quarter pounder with cheese in France, baby.
Royale with cheese.
Hey, I think the Big Ten is probably going to win its third consecutive national title. Way too early for that, I understand. And boy, got an alarm going off there that when you get on these different time zones, stuff goes off at the wrong time and everything else. But anyway, I think the Big Ten is good. And not only that, I think it could be obviously with a third different team. What would that say? What would that do to Paul Feinbaum and the rest of his SE and his fine bumettes?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've already gotten a taste of it the last 2 years. That's why you saw the meltdown from the SEC in the offseason and at their media days for, getting up on the pedestal saying we should have 4 teams in automatically, yada yada, because our amazing depth. Maybe they were already kind of clued into the fact that they didn't have an elite team at the top, and that's their best argument to make in this thing. So I think the process has already started as far as, the Big Ten winning another national championship. I mean, there's a lot of football left. I'm not sure, I'm seeing that just yet, to like make a bold statement. What I'm looking at is now with Penn State dropping back and not looking good, by the time you lose to UCLA, you are not a college football playoff contender anymore, especially with them having Ohio State, Iowa, and Indiana left on the schedule. Like, it's hard for me to not see another loss in there. Long story short, what I'm getting at is what is going to be that third team in the Big Ten, maybe fourth team in the Big Ten that is going to be guaranteed a spot. Right now, Indiana for sure is the best candidate for the third team. What's the fourth team? It could very well be Illinois. Who's the other team that can get up? It's going to be interesting to see how that jockeying happens. And maybe Penn State is in there as well to get another team in. I want as many Big Ten teams into the college football playoff as possible.
Absolutely, and because I don't want to see that be an SEC party, because they're going to get 5 teams in this season, no doubt.
We'll see.
What's because of a misperception? Texas, I all year long I was just raging about Texas that they were a fraudulent team, and finally it got exposed. But I know we got to let you go. Hey, make sure you go to pavedrain.com. Tell them real quick what you guys do, man.
Too complicated to probably go through. But it is a permeable heated surface. So the water not only is melted, it disappears, right in between the blocks. We will help out with the subgrade and design, walk everything through. Just go to the website. You can find my information right there. Jeff Book is my real name, Buch. So look us up. We can walk through it. It's a really good process.
I was always saying Birch for some reason.
Book, just like what you get at the library, or what people used to get at libraries.
Well, you know, they never usually found me in places like a library. Maybe that's why.
Maybe that's the issue.
Appreciate you, buddy. Hey, make sure you check out Eyes on Big podcast as well. My good friend Jeff Buck from Jeffery The Greek. Have a good one. We've got more coming up. We've got to take a quick break. We'll be back with all that and more right after this message.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Hey, welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. I am in Eugene, Oregon, in ahead of the clash between the number 3 Oregon Ducks and the number 7 Indiana Hoosiers. Coach Griff back at Studio 1A and manning things at the helm. We appreciate you very much. Looking forward to this game. What's your pick?
Well, I said last night, I think if Indiana can win the field position battles, get a couple turnovers, and have the special teams step up like they have, I think Indiana can win this game 27-24 with those caveats, because I think it's going to take some of the heroic efforts that this defense has in getting some takeaways in this IU offense, willing to push the ball down the field. But if they can continue to drive a short field in this ball game, I like their chances.
Sounds good, man. And I appreciate everybody that joined us today. And most importantly, each and every one of you for joining us. Without you, we have no reason to be here. Big thanks again to Coach Griff for captaining the ship. As always, does a fantastic job. And we'll see. Don't forget about we'll do a little pregame show.
Yeah, pregame.
And we'll do a postgame show. Coach has got it all set up, ready to go. So if win or lose, we're going to be there. But, man, it'd be a lot more fun of a show if they were able to pull that out.
No question about it. And we've said before, this is one of those games that Indiana needs to get on their resume by beating a top team in the Big Ten perceptionally, just for what Jeff the Greek was talking about there, the perceptionary value of a game like this.
Until then, I'm Jim Coyle, and for Coach Griff, I will see you all.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.